Oh man, I don't have a good setup today, guys. Let me see what we can do here. Clean this mess up a little bit. Y'all, I am sorry. I had meant to go out. I might end up just holding this. I had meant to go out into the little walking trail today, but it has been, raining off and on, and now it's like sweltering, and we have 60% chance. So it looks really bright outside. Here. It looks really bright outside, but it is clouding up again too. So I don't know. I just decided to do a car video today. I know I had said that we were going to do go out into the woods and do some foraging. I'll try to get at least one more video out there for you. My job is changing, so this is my last full week at my current job, and then I'll be at my new location, and I'll be scouting out some locations for us to do our lunchtime chats. Thank you to whoever just popped in. Appreciate you. If you guys could let me know, does my audio sound okay? Because awesome. Hey, Pilgrim Radio, it's good to see you. I got some couple things to talk about today. Hey, Digital Prepper, it's good to see you too. Hope you guys are doing good today. I have a couple things I'm going to talk to you about today. I had wrote down some stuff. Wanted to start with giving a little bit of an update on the channel progress. Good morning, Steve. It's good to see you. I am about 350 hours short of being able to apply for partnership with the YouTube program. So we're getting there. We're getting there. Thank you so much, everybody who's been watching my videos in full and for watching my playlist, things like that. We're very, very close. I think maybe like 3 more weeks I should be there based on, what I'm averaging. So we're getting there. Next thing I wanted to talk about was I had talked to a few people about sometimes I say, hey, that's a word that YouTube doesn't like or YouTube demonetizes, and people have asked me recently, like, how are you getting that information? So I'll tell you where my source is. There's a guy on YouTube who has a channel. His name is Andrew Platt, and write that down. You want to check this out later on. Andrew Platt, and his channel is Andrew Platt YouTube Analyzed, and he shows you there's like 17,000 words or something like that are flagged by the YouTube AI that will, if you use those words one time in your video, it might be okay. You use them a couple of times, there's a pretty good chance your video is going to get demonetized. So he shows you how he tests that, which is pretty interesting. He does all the legwork so that other channels don't have to. So he doesn't know who I am, so you can go over there, you can subscribe. You don't have to tell him Sarge sent you because he has no idea who I am. I don't even comment on his stuff too much, but check out his channel if you're looking for that. And there's a database, it's like a Google Doc, the Andrew Platt. Yep, exactly how you spelled that. He has a Google Doc that you can access, and you can look up all the words that he's tested. And hey, Asiana Pi, thank you for joining in. What's interesting is that the list changes. So sometimes a word is demonetized, and this happens most frequently when there's something in the news that there's a lot of quote unquote fake news stories going on. That word will tend to get on the list, and then a month later, 2 months later, it may get off the list. So sometimes when I say, oh, I can't say that word, this is where I'm getting that information from. Greetings from Malaysia. Thank you so much for tuning in. What time of day is it over there? Or it's probably night, right? So he also has some other stuff too. He talks about shadow banning and things like that. But I really do check him out. That's where I get my information from. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, so let's go on to the next piece here. I wanted to talk about the story with Burger King. If you all have seen the story, one of the Burger King franchises, it's a good resource, and he's only got 20,000 subscribers. This guy really, for the amount of testing that he does and the information that he puts out for the community, I'm doing very good, thank you. For the amount of information that he's put out and the amount of work that he puts in, this guy really deserves to have 500,000 followers. So if you like it, if you find it helpful, maybe tell other people about it. But again, you don't have to mention me. He doesn't know who I am. BK, so Burger King, if you had caught this in the news, one of the franchises, a bunch, 23 employees walked off on the same day. Now, I caught the story on the morning news, and they were saying that this was about low wages. And I think low wages are a factor, right? Because I know fast food does not pay well. I've done that, and probably some of you all have done that too, right? It's usually a starter job for people to kind of get some skills and build up something to put on their next application. Hey, Miss Sherry. Hey, Ed. Good to see you both. So I think that was probably a part of it. But if you read into the story a little bit more, check some other sources. The owner or the manager there, from what I understand, was a real jerk. So it wasn't just about Frito. Oh, I didn't see the Frito-Lay one. The job market is changing. People are expecting to be treated better. People are expecting to be paid more. I don't know how long that will go on, and like if they can sustain that, right? Because like everybody else, I have bills to pay, so I don't know what will happen. Hey, Trident Stacking, so good to see you. But it's an interesting story because it wasn't just about the pay. Those employees had, like, that manager was really treating people like dirt from what I read. You know, and to have 23 people, I've done management, and to have 23 people walk off on the same time, like it's not just about pay. It's about you were a jerk. You were a jerk. So I don't know if the news will continue to follow that. I would love to see the you know, like, does the Burger King, the greater company, the franchise, is there any accountability for the franchise owners, right? Like, so I looked into this years ago. I had thought about, like, you know, buying a franchise for not Burger King, but for another company. And you usually have to put up so much of your money, and they'll put up some of theirs, and then you have to show so much profit within like a year or two. And if you don't, they dump you. So you have to put a lot of your own capital at risk if you're going to do something like that. I don't know if there's like certain standards like that they're held accountable for. So if you all know and you want to throw that in chat, I think that's an interesting discussion. The economy is really kind of interesting. It's hard to get people back to work right now, and pay is a factor for sure, but I think there's other factors as well. So this goes back to what I've been talking about on my channel. You know, I think we're heading towards a recession. I think we're in the start of it, honestly. And if I didn't get to check the stock market this morning, so I don't know how bad that looks. Yesterday it was looking pretty bad. I'll tell you my plays. I've always been pretty honest about what I do. I'm holding the line. I jumped out in 2008, and that turned out to be a big mistake because I missed a portion of the ride back up. So I'm staying in. I'm not purchasing a lot right now. I'm not buying a lot. If it continues to drop down, you know, if we have a couple more days where the major indexes drop down a lot, I'll be making some purchases because to me those are good prices, and that's kind of what I did last year when everything started to crash last March. Just bought like S&P 500 companies. So I keep people updated on what plays I'm making there. Yeah. So digital prepper, I'm glad you brought that up. I do think that's a major factor too, that people want to. One of the things that was good that came about from what we dealt with in 2020 was there are a lot of jobs that you can work remotely from, right? And that's good for everybody, right? So you know, if you don't have that kind of job, you may be like, well, screw you. If I have to go in, you have to go in, right? But honestly, do you want more cars on the road? You know, do you want your higher car insurance? Do you want more higher prices in gasoline? Everybody benefits when an employer lets their employees work hybrid. Everybody benefits. Your car insurance will go down. Your gasoline prices should go down. Less traffic for you to deal with. Less road rage. Happier employees. I've always said happy bees make better tasting honey. So I think you're right. I think there's a lot of people who are like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find a job that's going to let me work remotely at least some of the time. So I think that's going to be a factor going forward. And I think we should be ready to evolve to that. Want to enjoy the office politics, we want to really want to go back. Yeah, and so Steve, I like working in the office, but I also liked working remotely. And I will say, so my job, I don't think that I would thrive working 100% remotely. Just as an example for me personally, would I like to be able to do that some of the time? Sure. And there are many patients that I work with that prefer telehealth only. So there's no reason why I couldn't do that from my home. But some patients don't like telehealth and they do better therapy face to face. So I think that as a therapist, I should be able to provide that too. I can tell you the trend in my field is that there are a lot of pop-up agencies that are, because the overhead is so low, right? So if you wanted to start a company and you were hiring a bunch of clinicians, you don't have to spend a ton of money on office space, right? So you can hire a bunch of independently licensed clinicians, and you're going to have to pay for a laptop for them, and you're going to have to pay for a phone for them, and you're probably going to have to do some kind of reimbursement for like their Wi-Fi connection or whatever, however they want to work that out, and then their salary. But they can save, these companies, these pop-up companies can save a ton of money by not having to have a building. So that is going to be the new competition in my field. And the companies that don't offer that, I think, are going to have a hard time retaining employees. But we'll see how that all plays out. We're in the beginning stages of all that. All right, so let's go on to the next thing. So I wanted to say a big shout out to Bezos, who has joined the astronaut club. I'm curious, those of you who are watching, I see I got a couple people in chat. What do you think about the private sector space program? A lot of people don't like it. They say it's wasteful. They say that if we have that much money, we should be using it to help people. Not have to pay for buildings. Yep, they would save some. Yeah, I agree, Steve. And let me come back to that in a second. I'm gonna stay with the space thing, and then I will come back to that. A lot of people are saying it's too much of a waste of money, and there's other factors like, is it environmentally not a good thing to be sending these private sector ships into space? I'm gonna say that I take the other side of that. I do support the space program, and I support the private sector. I think, as I think it was Matthew McConaughey said in one of those movies, we're explorers, right? Like if we stop exploring, what are we then? Like, are we just waiting out the clock until we destroy ourselves or make the planet uninhabitable? Now, the idea that we could make a colony on, say, Mars or somewhere else in the solar system, I think is hard for people to understand. But the idea at one point that we could land on the moon or that we could cross the ocean, those were also at one point considered impossible. So, who knows what 100 years from now will happen. My understanding is that for us to have a colony on Mars, it would probably have to be underground. Okay. So, there's a lot of things that have to be worked out. There's a lot of science to that, but I think we have to continue to push that boundary of exploration to create inspiration for people, hope, dream, right? So is it a lot of money? Yeah, and it was a lot of money when we crossed the ocean from Europe. I know there was Native Americans here too. I'm not trying to say that Europeans were the first ones here. They weren't. But it cost a lot of money. It was a lot of risk, and people lost their lives in the process, and that will happen here as well. So I say congratulations to Blue Origin. I think it's pretty exciting. I will probably never be able to afford one of these space flights, but it is cool to see something like this go on. I hope that in my lifetime we get to see human land on Mars. I mean, I know that that's probably a stretch at this point with my age, but who knows? I want to say, so let me come back to Steve's comment there. So my wife we were talking about this labor shortage thing, and people being called back to work, and there were some big companies like it was one of the big banking companies that said that they expected all their employees back in the office. So here's what we need to keep in mind, and my wife pointed this out to me, and I think she's right. The buildings are tied into this real estate for a lot of money, and they have to justify that, right? So if you've got these big office buildings in the center of a big city like New York or Boston or whatever, that's a lot of money that you have to justify. And that might be part of why some of these companies are demanding that their employees come back, even though they've proven that they can work effectively remotely. I don't know. If that's what's going on, I think those companies are going to have a hard time competing going forward with other companies that don't have that overhead. And it's a whole new world. It's a whole new world, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. How am I doing on time here? Okay, so shout out to Germany, and my prayers go to Germany for that flooding. I just wanted to briefly talk on this. I might try to hit some more on this on Friday. Yeah, because there was a lot of cost savings that went along with letting employees work remotely. Electricity, for one, Sorry, they parked pretty close to me. The just situational awareness there. So I might talk about the flooding in Germany again on Friday when I do the Friday night pre-party, but there's trying to spin that that's a 100-year flood. But what's interesting is that those buildings that are destroyed, some of those have been there for 500 years or more. So if it's a 100-year flood, then it's a lot more devastating than previous centuries, right? I don't get that. I don't get that when, we had one here a few years back. My city had a pretty interesting flood where it didn't follow the typical flood patterns that my city does. Hey, Titan Preparedness. It's good to see you. Don't worry about it. We'll catch you up. We'll catch you up. They tried to sell it to us like, oh, this is a 25-year flood. But I've talked to people who've lived here for a long time, and they're like, no, it's a nice spin they want to put on it to make you think like, oh, this is just normal and you're not going to have to deal with it again. But I'm on the side of that, climate change is real. I don't want to get into an argument of whether you think it's man-made or not. It's happening. It's happening. And yes, climate has always changed through the millennia. We can, going back to pre-dinosaurs, climate has changed, and it will continue to. But we're now in a cycle that's spinning up faster than we've seen in human history, right? And will continue to. So, this is definitely a big concern for me, where I live in a flood-prone city, and a lot of people will say things like, well, why you continue to live there, right? And I know people have said to people that are in the chat now, like, why are you staying in your state with all the wildfires? Or why are you staying, when I was in Kentucky, it was, why are you staying in Kentucky with the tornadoes and stuff like that? Well, this is my home, This is where I chose to make my stand. And maybe you live in an area that's prone to winter storms. Maybe you live close to a volcano. Everybody has to make their choice. This is where we chose to make our stand. We understand the risk of that. And if I die in a major flash flood, that's on me. Is it a concern? Yeah, definitely. And I lost my last car in a flash flood. I've got a couple pictures. I will do a video about that some point. It was in, people don't understand about flash floods. They'll say, well, don't park on that street or whatever. Flash floods can pop up in our city anywhere. And the street that got flooded had never flooded before. I was parked in a normal parking spot that had never had a problem before. But what happened was somebody had blocked up one drainage ditch with a mattress and a TV, and that was enough to flood the entire neighborhood. And at my work, 8 people lost their cars, completely destroyed. It was waist deep. And I know a couple other businesses in the area had some pretty heavy damage too. So that's a real threat here, and it comes up so fast. It's like, people are like, well, didn't you see it coming? No, it's like you have minutes. That's when a flash flood happens. It's so quick that, go watch the videos in 2018. Thankfully, I wasn't in that area. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. It's good to see you, Fu. How you been? Go watch the videos in Germany and see how fast those floodwaters came through. It's nuts. You think you'd be able to have time to evacuate. It doesn't work like that. So nobody got hurt in my work when that happened, but 8 of us lost our cars. Hey, toilet bowl food review. I'm sorry, I meant to go over to your channel and check it out. I'm gonna write it down right now. Toilet bowl food review. I will get over there later today. I am so sorry. Yeah, exactly. Titan Preparedness. Every location has some risks, and it's just something that you learn to live with when you prepare for it as best you can, right? Like, know how to evac if you can evac, and what are your routes, and do what you can to prepare for it. All right, the main topic today, we talked about Blue Origin earlier. I wanted to talk, this was the big thing today before I got back into work. I wanted to talk about Havana syndrome. So if you all haven't followed the news, there was some new cases of Havana syndrome. So what is Havana syndrome? So this started, the first evidence of Havana syndrome was in 2016, and this is where it got its name, in Havana, Cuba. A bunch of U.S. diplomats had reported that, I think it was like over 25, had reported feeling like when they were in their hotel rooms, that they had, like, their brain was vibrating, and they don't they don't know exactly what caused it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, you remember that, Ms. Sherry? So recently there was a few new diplomats in Vienna that are reporting identical symptoms. Now, I've been doing a little bit of reading on this, there's some theories, right? There's I think the prevalent theory is that it's some kind of weapon that possibly Russia has. It's a high frequency sonic weapon that basically is rattling your brain around. And the way it's described by the people who've experienced this is like, you ever driven on the highway and you roll down your window to just that right amount where the window vibrates and makes that loud, like whoa, 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 whoa. You know what I'm talking about? That's how they describe it. But what's happening now is that the people who had it in 2016 are showing some evidence of long-term brain damage, that it's like a pervasive concussion syndrome. So this is pretty scary stuff. Like, so far it's mostly been diplomats and I think some CIA agents that have said that they've experienced this. But recently, some diplomats in Vienna have reported this again. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead through my notes. There's ongoing, toilet bowl food review. So about 10 or 15 years ago, I remember watching something on like History Channel or the Military Channel where they were talking about the U.S. was developing a similar type of weapon that was mounted on a tank, and it was like this sonic weapon that they were going to use for crowd controls. And it was considered non-lethal, and what it would basically do would do a sonic attack at, like if there was a crowd that was rioting or whatever, and it would cause everybody to lose their GI function, and you'd basically crap your pants. So you can think about like how demoralizing that would be. Now, that was about 10 or 15 years ago. I remember watching some videos about this weapon. I don't know that I've heard anything about it. So either it's been deployed and we're not hearing about it, or they've discontinued it for whatever reason. Uncle, it's good to see you. I will stay and then catch you later. All right, there you go, Unc. It's good to see you. So if you guys know anything about this, they called it the brown note. Thank you. I couldn't remember that. Thank you. I don't know if it's ever been deployed, but it sounds like it's a similar type weapon. It's pretty scary, like there's, going back to remember a couple months ago, maybe it was about a month ago, I did that video about the UFO stuff, the Navy footage, and that there's stuff that maybe other countries have that we don't even know about yet. Maybe their technology is more advanced than we think, or they're just not going to tell us, right? Like maybe we've known about this stuff for a long time. They're just not going to tell the average citizen. Any of the above is possible. I remember there was one theory that there was two theories that I read that were kind of, to me, they're bunk. I will talk about them just to kind of give different points to the discussion, and you all can do your own research, make your own decisions. Yes. So Ed, sonic-induced incontinence, exactly. It would be pretty demoralizing, right? Imagine if there was a crowd that was rioting or whatever, and here rolls in this tank. Yep, absolutely, Fu. Some new weapon system. Yeah, there's always new stuff being developed about. Yep. But imagine if you're in this, this crowd was rioting or whatever, and this tank rolls up and just blasts to this sonic attack, and everybody in that crowd craps themselves. I would think that a portion of that crowd would be retreating and going home. So if it really is non-lethal and doesn't do any kind of damage to them or whatever, then it's an interesting tactic. Yeah, exactly. It would make me want to go home. And if it could be used that way, then we could potentially, it might be a non-lethal way to handle not just situations here in the U.S., but maybe overseas as well. I don't know. So a couple other theories just to throw this out there. I think a lot of people would say that too. They'd rather take the mace than to crap their pants. If anybody has information about that brown note weapon and what you know, have you heard anything? Are they still researching it, or is the research completely been abandoned? Oh man, they could start flinging feces. That would be bad. That would be bad. I don't even want to think about that. So a couple other theories that were thrown out there for this this Havana syndrome was, I think this one's the most ludicrous. We'll start with this. One researcher was basically saying like, oh no, this wasn't an attack. These were some kind of like insect mating rituals, and they were, you know, just basically being hysterical. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't buy that. Not for you know, 25 plus diplomats and CIA agents to be reporting that it was that severe. Another one was that it could be a biological or chemical weapon that had been, you know, put in drinking water or something like that. I think that's possible. I think that's possible. That was creating like some kind of I don't know, psychedelic or what do they call it? Petite seizure or something? Who knows? Who knows? But that's possible. But there does appear to be some actual physical brain damage that's gone along for a lot of the people that experience this. So you can look this up. It's basically Havana syndrome is what it's called. Yeah, it's like a loud buzzing, rattling sound. Hey, Silver and more. You can look this up. There was a couple things that came about of this. There is a task force that's investigating this. You can look that up. And then there was something called the Havana Act, in which 10 U.S. senators proposed a bill that would close a loophole for federal employees' compensation, which does not normally cover damage to brain and heart. So in other words, yeah, that's possible. That's kind of what it sounds like. But the people who experienced this, they said it felt like it was coming from one direction, like a beam. Okay. Not like a wave, like a giant wave that would have affected multiple people. Like they were actually able to, whatever this was, let's assume it's a weapon, okay? But they were actually be able to target a specific room as opposed to like a whole wing of the hotel. Yeah, it was multiple locations from my understanding. Now, a lot of the information is not public knowledge because I think they had to redact some to protect identities of CIA agents and things like that. Which is called tech. Tomorrow. I don't know that much about that toilet bowl. I'll have to look that one up. All right, y'all. I got a couple minutes left before I have to head back. Let me just wrap this up. And if you have anything, I don't think it's 5G. I appreciate everybody checking out the video today and joining me for lunchtime chat. If you have anything you want to plug for that you have coming out this week, go ahead and put that in chat down below. Thank you, everybody, for getting me so close to my 4,000 hours. I am just about there. I'm on the doorstep of it, and I appreciate everybody who's been helping me out by watching my videos in full. Voice in your head only, even if you're... That's super scary, toilet bowl. I will have to check that out. That's really scary tech, because you can make somebody really go over the deep end with something like that. Yeah, send me an email, Brian. Appreciate that. We'll see if we can do that. So anyways, I appreciate everybody. Thank you for watching the videos. I'm going to be back live Friday night for the Friday night prepper pre-party. And please remember to check out each other's channels. Everybody that comes into this chat is good people. Everybody's got great channels. I think everybody here is a content creator. So give each other some love and support. Stay safe out there. Watch out for the brown note. Have a good day. Silver and more. Keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your silver. I got to get back to work. This is Prepping with Sarge. Yeah, don't forget the thumbs up. Thank you, Miss Sherry. I appreciate that.